All right, guys. So I'm gonna start by explaining the question to you, and then I'll give you a few minutes to do the question first, and then you can start raising your hands then. But let's have a look first at actually doing the question, or look at breaking the question down. So I want to remind you about grade 8 and what happens in grade 8. As you would have seen in this set of exams, in this exams, what happens is they don't just test you on what you learned during that term. What they do is they go back and they test you from everything from the beginning of the year all the way through to the exam. Now, what's going to happen in this next term in term 3 is they're only going to test you on what you learned in this term. But when you get to the last term, term 4, you're going to get tested in term 4 on everything from the beginning of the year all the way till the end of the year. So it's really important that you are revising your skills and going over everything that you've done all the time. Otherwise, by the time you get to the end of the year, you've forgotten what a prime factor is, how to find the HCF, how to find the LCM. Actually, by the time you get to term 4, you've forgotten what the HCF actually even is. Okay, so it's important that we revise and we go over these skills all the time to make sure that we're on top of it. All right. So question number 1, it says, write both 300 and 160 as products of prime factors. So write these as products of prime factors. So first of all, let's break these words down a little bit. What do these words actually mean? Well, the word products often means to multiply. So when you're looking for the product of something, okay, you're looking for multiplication. Product means to multiply, all right? And when you're looking for prime factors, well, prime factors has the word prime in it, all right? And prime means that the prime numbers are only divisible by 1 and themselves. Okay, so remember this word, prime, okay? And the fact that we've got products. All right. Now, for some of you at your schools, you'll be allowed to use calculators. For some of you, you won't be allowed to use calculators. Still, some schools don't let you use calculators, and can you believe this, all the way through your whole grade 8 year, okay? Some of you have been allowed to use calculators since the first day of term, and that's not a problem. So some of you would have learned already how to do this on your calculators, okay? Some of you, not so sure yet. One way to do this is by using factor trees. So you're more than welcome to go and use a factor tree if you know how to do that. Others of you might have learned to do it a different way. And so I'm going to give you 2 minutes, 1.5, 2 minutes to go and try this out. If you already have the answer, you're more than welcome to lift your hand already if you want to give me the answer, but I'm going to give you some time to go and work out this first question. Write 300 and 160 as products of their prime factors. Go and try those two for me. Yo, I've already got somebody with their hand up. Sure, that was quick. Yolanda, this class is on fire.
Yeah, my people are really good.
Hey?
You realize that this is a very great class in here.
I'm telling you, you didn't tell me they were this quick.
And they love engaging with us. So you see, we already have some hands up. But my people, you know the rules, right? Jedli Ribabalezwe. You must actually write it on your book and then type it on the comment also, so Teacher Casey and I can see how many of you are done, so that she can call up to for people to raise their hands, and then you can answer. Okay, but we work in that sequence, because sometimes if we don't write it down, we forget, and when we do corrections, we forget that we got it wrong because it's in our head. Okay, so make sure that you are writing down things, my people.
Thanks so much, Yolanda, for your rules. That's awesome. Thank you. Always good to stick to your class rules.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, all the hands went down. Sure, that was quick. All right. Yolanda, I'm seeing that Uvayos just sent me a message to say that they're unable to see my screen and they logged in and out again. I know you did send a message earlier on. Okay.
Yeah, so if Yeah, if that doesn't work, what we do is you will have to unshare your screen and share it again, which is a little bit annoying, but it works.
Okay.
So on your side, you'll just have to remove the screen and then share it again, and then it works. But there's another method that I normally send to them to try and do it. So sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't work.
I'm going to send this message that you did send earlier on the chat to this person. Okay. All right. Uvayo, I have sent you the message that was sent earlier on. See if that works for me. If it doesn't, please just send a message to us.
Let's go, my people. We are 86 of us. So we want to see answers in the chats. Answers, my people. Yes. Let's put answers in the chat.
Good. All right. I'm liking that I'm seeing so many people working at their desks. That's fantastic. Well done, guys.
Yeah.
I'm seeing
so proud of my people.
Yeah. Some people just sitting staring at me, but some people actually working with a pen and paper. I like it.
Boga,
well
you
done.
better work.
Well done, guys. Nice. Very good. Well done.
Let's see. We are working. Let's kukanya. We are working. We are working.
Okay, I'm trying to see where I had the first person here to answer. Yo. All right, I see I've got some people with hands up here, but haven't put their answer in the chat. Guys, make sure your answers are in the chat. Like Yolanda said, that's your class rules or the class way that you guys run your class. So make sure you put your answers in the chat, hey? All right, let's have a look. Okay, if you have put your answers in the chat, so your answer needs to be in the chat first. All right, raise your hand and you'd like to go through the answer with me. Okay, good. So I've got Ribabawa. Sorry. Yeah. You should be able to
perfect,
unmute.
Riba.
Riba?
Let's
Riba,
go,
do you want to
Riba.
unmute? Let's go.
There's a pop-up on your side. There we go. Well done.
Hi, ma'am.
Hey, Riba. All right. Are you going to help me out? Are you going to do 300 with me? How did you get the prime factors of 300?
So you're going to say 5 times 5 times, 5 times 5. No, hold on, sorry.
That's okay.
2 times 2 times 3 times 5 times 5.
Good. And how did you work this out, Riba? How did you get it?
Ma'am, I was multiplying with the numbers that the set of the multiples that I got first, so I can get the answer.
Good. Nice. Cool. Well done. Okay. Thank you so much for your help. Awesome. I'm going to let somebody else do the other one for me. All right. Let's go, Jadley.
So, ma'am,
Right.
As for my 1.1,
how did you get 160?
Okay, for 160, first I had to find all the prime factors.
Good.
And I had to check if each and every one of them had to get into the 160. And if they all got in, like 2 into 160, you get your answer. And you divide your answer by 2, you get your answer again. And then you continue until you reach 5. And you say 5 into the 160, it will say 1.
Good. So you got 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 5. Am I right? Was that what you got?
Apparently, there's 1, 2 missing.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I got 5 2s altogether.
Yeah, that's correct.
Is that right? Okay, cool. Thank you so much, Shedley.
Okay, ma'am.
Bye. All right, guys. So those answers are perfectly correct, absolutely correct. I'm going to show you how I got these answers quickly so that we can see the process of actually getting here. So the way that I got my answers was as follows. Okay, I'm going to go do them on the side here. I used some trees, some factor trees to do this. So when I do a factor tree, I draw a line down the side, and first I'm going to do 300. Okay, the prime factors, the first prime factor that I have is the number 2. So 2 is the first prime factor, and can 2 go into 300? Yes, it can. 300 divided by 2 gives me 150. All right. Can 150 be divided by 2 again? Yes, it can. So I put it on that side. 150 divided by 2 gives me 75. All right. Can 2 go into 75? No, it can't. What's the next prime factor? The next prime factor is the number 3. Can 3 go into 75? Yes, it can. 3 can go into 75. How many times? 25 times. Can 3 go into 25? No, it can't. What's the next prime factor? The next prime factor is 5. 25 divided by 5 gives me 5, right? Can 5 go into 5? Yes, it can. And 5 divided by 5 gives me 1. Because I've done it this way now, I can go say to myself, okay, well, that means that 300 is going to be equal to 2. How many times do I see 2? I see it once, twice. So 2 to the power of 2 times by 3 times by, how many times do I see 5? 1, 2. 5 to the power of 2. Is that exactly the same answer as Rita gave us? Yes, it is. It's the exact same thing as saying 300 times 2 times 2 times 3 times 5 times 5. It's exactly the same thing, all right? It's just a simplified way of saying it, okay? And it's going to help us when we do the next step, all right, which is finding the HCF and finding the LCM. Okay. If I go and do 160 in the same way, so here I'm going to go do my line again. I'm going to have 160. What's my first prime number? My first prime number is 2. 160 divided by 2 gives me 80. 80 divided by 2 gives me 40. 40 divided by 2 gives me 20. 20 divided by 2 gives me 10. 10 divided by 2 gives me 5. Can 2 go into 5? No, but I can put 5 into 5, and that gives me 1. So I'm going to have 160 is equal to 2. How many times do I see 2? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. 2 to the power of 5 times by 5. And that's the exact same thing as seeing 160, 2 to the power of whoopsie daisy, 2 to the power of 5 times by 5. Right, so it just makes it a little bit easier now when we do our next step. Okay, so using factor trees, it's a little bit easier looking for our prime factors. Okay, I'm going to take it back this side just in case you want to take a screenshot very quickly. All right, in case you haven't seen that before, if you want to take a screenshot of how you do that, you're more than welcome to. Okay, another way to do it is if you go back and you watch the video on this lesson so that you can have a look on that. This is called factor trees. Okay, factor trees. All right, just a little bit of an easier way to find the prime factors. Okay, My next question now says, determine the HCF, highest common factor, and LCM of 300 and 160. So when we're talking about HCF, what does that actually stand for? HCF, highest common factor, all right, stands for, I've just said it, the highest common factor. So, okay, the highest common factor, and LCM stands for the lowest common multiple. So they want to know, what is the highest common factor of 300 and 160? So the two numbers that we've just done. Now, in an exam, this is what will happen. It'll have a question where it asks you to find a product of the prime factors, and then the next question will often ask you to find the HCF and the LCM. Okay, when I teach this, all right, when I teach this in my lessons, I always say to my students, okay, when we're looking for an HCF, right, I say to my students, you need to think of this F over here as the numbers want to be what I call, okay, the numbers want to be what I call friends. All right, so when we're looking for an HCF, the numbers, they want to be friends. Okay, so highest common factor, yes, we're looking for the highest common factor, but what it means is that we're looking for the numbers that need to be friends in this case. All right, so when we're looking for our HCF, we're looking for the things that can be friends here in the products. All right, so if we're looking at the number 300 and 160, if we're looking at the 2's, I've got 2 to the 2 and I've got 2 to the 5. So I can see that I've got 2's in both numbers. So those can stay the same, 2 and 2's. All right. But then I've got 2 to the 2 and I've got 2 to the 5. So can they be friends? They can, but they need to match. All right. So are we happy to say that 2 to the 2 can go into both of those numbers? It can go into 300, 2 to the 2, and 2 to the 5, I can also have a 2 to the 2. Why? Because it's lower than 2 to the 5. So it can be friends with both of those. Times by. The next one that I've got here is a 3. Do I have a 3 in 160? Nope. So can the 3 be part of my friends in my HCF? No, it can't. All right. The 3 can definitely not be part of my friends. All right. What's left to look at? Well, what's left to look at is the 5's. I've got a 5 over here and a 5 over here. So I can definitely have times by a 5. The first one is a 5 to the 2, and the other one is just a plain old 5. So do I want to make my friend feel bad by making it a 5 to the 2? Nope. I'm going to leave it as a plain old 5. 2 to the power of 2 is 4. Times by 5 gives me 20. So all of you that are saying 20, well done. The highest common factor between those two numbers is definitely 20. We used our prime factors to get the number 20. Well done. If I'm looking at the LCM now, all right, I say to my students when I'm teaching this, I'm not worried now about being friends anymore, about being all friendly, okay? I'm not worried about that. Now I'm worried about this M. Lowest common multiple, if I'm looking at the M, now all I'm worried about for the M is I'm looking at the maximum. Okay, I want the maximum now. I'm going to look at those prime factors and I want to take the maximum of everything. Okay, so for lowest common multiple, I want to take the maximum of everything. So remember, HCF, for HCF, I want to be friends. I want to make everybody friends. I want to make sure that they look kind of the same, and I want to have an HCF. For LCM, the M, I'm going to say it's the maximum, okay? And so I want to have the maximum in my factors. So I'm going to start by looking at my 2's. Here are my 2's. I've got 2 to the 2 and 2 to the 5. I'm not worried about making friends anymore. I want the maximum number of 2's. So what's the maximum number of 2's? It's 2 to the 5 times 5. I then move on and I see that I've got 3's. I've got 3's over here. I don't have any 3's down that side, but I don't care about being friends anymore. I want to have the maximum. So I'm going to keep the 3's. And finally, I've got 5's. I've got 5's over here and 5's over here. I'm not worried about being friends anymore. Now I'm going to take the maximum. So I'm going to take 5 to the 2. So I'm going to finish it off. 2 to the power of 5. What is 2 to the power of 5, guys? What's 2 to the power of 5? Tell me in the chats. What's 2 to the power of 5? Who can tell me what's 2 to the power of 5? Okay, 2 to the power of 5. Good, it's 32. So 2 to the power of 5 is 32. Just a reminder, what does 2 to the power of 5 mean? It means 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. Good. Times by 3 times by 25. Then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my calculator because that's a really big sum. I don't want to do that in my head. 32 times 3 times 25 gives me 2,400. 2,400. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the next question up on the screen for those people who are ready to move on. It is a little bit small. Let me see if I can make it a little bit bigger for you guys. Okay. All right. Let's see if I can make it a little bit bigger for you guys. It'll let me. All right. Unfortunately not. All right.
But I think we can read the whole sentence.
Can you
now.
read that? Is
Yeah,
that okay?
Tommy,
All right.
Tommy, and Timmy. What names?
Thank you. Okay, so guys, I'm going to bring that question up on the screen for you, and I'm going to take any questions for the last question. So those people that are ready to move on to this question, so question 2 and question 3 are up there on the screen for those people that are ready to move on. And for question 1, I'm going to ask if there are any questions that anybody wants me to answer in the meantime. So if you have any questions from question 1, now's the time. Put your hand up. For those people that are busy with question 2 and question 3, go ahead. You've got your paper, you've got your pencils, you are working on question 2 and question 3. Anybody who has any questions on question 1, now is your time. Raise your hand.
Gabriella, raise your hand. You felt a little bit confused, unless if now you're okay.
Oh, there we go. Here come the hands. Here we go. Okay. So, Tate? Tate, what's your question?
Hello, ma'am. I wanted to ask, in question 1, where they asked for the prime factors, I wanted to ask that, is it possible we can use the prime factor 3 method?
Sure. Do you get the same answer as me?
Yeah, I do.
Then it's perfect. You can use whatever method you want. If it works for you and you get the same answer as me, perfect. Happy for you to use whatever method you want.
Okay, ma'am.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Gabriel?
Hi, ma'am.
Hi, how can I help?
Ma'am, I wanted to ask, how do we make the numbers friends with the highest common factor?
Sure, no problem, Gabriel. What you need to do is, I always say to myself, you know when you're best friends with somebody and you want to look exactly the same as them, like when you were younger?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to dress up the same and you want to look the same, that kind of vibe. That's what you're thinking to yourself. You want to make it so that they're looking exactly the same. So when you're looking at their product of their prime factors, okay, take for example the 2's. So I've got 2 to the 2, I've got 2 to the 5. So I know that they've both got 2's in them. Do you agree?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I'm going to take the 2 and I'm going to write the 2 down because I'm happy that they've both got 2s. So I put the 2 down, okay? But now the one's got 2 to the 2, the other one's got 2 to the 5. So do I want to make my friend embarrassed by taking 2 to the 5?
No.
Def's not, eh? So I'm going to take the 2 to the 2, okay?
2.
Okay, then I move on. In my one number, I've got a 3. In my other number, I haven't got a 3. So am I going to write the 3 down?
No, because there's no best friend.
Exactly, it's my best friend and I don't want to look different to my best friend, am I right?
Yes, ma'am.
So I leave the 3 out, okay? Then I move on to the 5s. I see I've got 5s, I see I've got 5s. So am I happy to write the 5 down?
Yes.
So I write the 5 down, okay? And then I see I've got 5 to the 2 and I've got a 5. Am I going to make my friend embarrassed by writing 5 to the 2?
Nope.
Nope. So I'm just going to leave it as 5.
Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, cool. Does it make sense to you? Do you think this will be a bit of an easier method?
Yes, ma'am.
Awesome. I'm glad. Good. Thanks, Gabriel. Okay, I see I've got one more question here. Sean. Sean, do you have a question for me? Sean, you should be able to unmute.
Yes, ma'am.
Hi, Sean. How can I help?
Ma'am, I was asking that can you use any method to do the prime factors?
Of course you can, as long as you get the same answers as me. Happy for you to use any method.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
You're welcome. No problem. All right, guys. Let's move on to this question about Tommy, and Timmy, who've been given birthday money by their grandmother in the ratio of their ages. So they are turning 11, 13, and 16 years old, respectively. So what that means, okay, so we're breaking down some maths here. So this is actually introducing you to what we call Maths Lit. So Maths Lit is a subject that you can choose in grade 10. Either you can carry on doing maths or you can choose Maths Lit. So this is kind of introducing you to what Maths Lit would be like. The word respectively means if I put Tommy, Tammy, and Timmy's names in order like that, and then I went and told you 11, 13, and 16, it means that's the order that we're following, okay? So it means that, right? It means that Tommy is 11. It means that Tammy is 13 and Timmy is 16. So that's all that that word respectively means, okay? If the total amount of money given to all 3 of the boys is 1,000 Rand, how much money does Tommy get on his birthday? All right, so I think it's important, first of all, for us to work out how much is all of their ages all together, because they told us in this question, okay, they told us in this question how much all 3 boys got already. So I think it's important for us to work out, apologies, screen's going a bit weird again. So it's important for us to work out, all right, if that's how much they got all together, well, how much is their ages all together? Okay, so that's the first thing we need to go do. We need to work out what their age is all together. So all together, all right, their ages are 11 plus 13 plus 16. So all together, why are we adding their ages all together? Because they gave us the money all together. So when we add up their ages all together, we get 40. Now, in the exam or test, you will use a calculator. Please make sure you use a calculator because it's really important that you use a calculator. Okay, in the test or the exam, you get really stressed out and you made silly little mistakes. Make sure you use a calculator. So now we know that altogether they get 40, all their ages added up to 40. They say to us, how much money will Tommy get on his birthday? Well, Tommy is 13, okay, out of 40 altogether, all right? And out of the total money, there's 1,000 Rand. So he's 13 out of the total of 40, and we're going to multiply that by the 1,000 Rand that they're going to get in total. All right, so we're going to take our calculator. We're going to say 13 over 40 times by 1,000, and it's going to give us 325. Okay, 325. I want to remind you, because again, this is our first introduction to math this in grade 8. Okay, I want to remind you that it's very important that we put this symbol, this Rand symbol there. If you don't put the Rand symbol, some of your teachers will be really strict and they will mark you down. Okay, so they'll take a mark away from you. So make sure that you put the Rand symbol because they ask you how much money. Okay. All right. So, last question, and then we're going to have a bit of a brain break. The question says, okay, Tshepo and his family are driving to the coast on holiday. The distance is 1,200 kilometers, and they must reach their destination in 12 hours. After 5 hours, they have traveled 575 kilometers. Then one of the tires burst. It takes 45 minutes to get the spare wheel on before they can drive again. At what average speed must they drive the remainder of the journey to reach their destination on time? Okay, so let's read it again together. Tshepo and his family are driving to the coast on holiday. The distance is 1,200 kilometers, and they must reach their destination in 12 hours. After 5 hours, they've traveled 575 kilometers. Then one of the tires burst. It takes 45 minutes to get the spare wheels on, okay, before they can drive again. At what average speed must they drive the remainder of the journey to reach their destination on time? Right. Think about it. Have a read through. Okay. Have a read through. Think about it. All right, while you're having a read through, I'm just going to read Gabriel's question here. Ma'am, can't you say 13 divided by 40? Yes, Gabriel, you can say that. Instead of over 40, it's the exact same thing. Yes, absolutely. All right. Okay, now that you've had some time to look at it, I'm going to give you a little bit of a brain break while your brains are still thinking about it, okay? Think about it a little bit while we're having a bit of a brain break. And I'm going to show you guys how you can find the videos, Watobe's videos on YouTube. So some of you might already know how to do this, okay? Some of you might be aware of how to do this already, but I thought it would be a really great brain break for you tonight to not have to do some extra maths, but to actually see how you can find Watobe's videos on YouTube. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring my screen across over here for you guys. So keep thinking about that question in the meantime. Let it simmer in the back of your mind. And in the meantime, we're going to go and we're going to look for Watobe's videos on YouTube, guys. So the first thing you want to do is you want to go and you want to search for YouTube. All right, so there is my YouTube. Okay, and once we're on YouTube, you're going to go to the search function and you're going to type in Watobe. Okay, Watobe is really easy to find. It's a really easy icon to look for. It's this little flame over here. So we click on the flame and that takes us to Watobe's channel. Now, there's different places where you can go and find all the grade 8 videos, but the place that I find it easier to find the videos all in one place for your grade 8 lessons is if you go to playlists. So we click on playlists, and that takes us to all the different grades playlists. So if you really want to, you can go watch some grade 12. I'm sure you don't want to do that. But if we move down, all the grade 8 lessons are in orange. So we've got the standard lessons, the foundation lessons. I'm going to click on standard. All right, and here they all are saved in the different topics that you've had for this whole year so far. So if you're not sure of a topic, let's say you're stuck on something, you're prepping for a test and you're not sure of what to do. Let's say it was on algebraic expressions. We click on that lesson. Can fast forward through a little bit for you. And there we go. There's Teacher Sam teaching you all about algebraic exponents in your class that you had. Okay, so make sure that you go and you make use of those lessons. They can also be found on Watobe's website, so you can also go and find them on Watobe's website. If you're a Watobe member, you'll also have access to the older Watobe lessons on there as well. So I hope that you're making use of those, guys, okay, and that you're able to find them. If you're not able to find them, you can also send a message to Watobe if you're not sure. Okay, but I hope that that has helped a lot and that you make use of those in the future. So let's do this last question before I say goodbye to you for tonight. And well, Yolanda, put your poll up first and then I say goodbye to you for tonight. So Tashepo and his family are driving to the coast of Hollander. The distance is 1,200 kilometers and they must reach their destination in 12 hours. So after 5 hours, they traveled 575 kilometers. So in other words, they had 1,200 kilometers minus 575 gave them what? Who can tell me? What was 1,200 minus 575? Who can tell me in the chat? What was that? How much further did they have to go? Good, nice guys. So they had 625 kilometers left, hey? So that's how much they had left to go. All right. Then they started with 12 hours. Okay, so they started with 12 hours. All right. Minus the 5 hours that they'd been driving for, left them with 7 hours. Okay, then the tire popped. All right, so then the tire popped. So what happened after the tire burst? It took them 45 minutes to change the tire. Now be very careful. A lot of students get caught here, okay? A lot of students get caught here. All right, if we're looking at 45 minutes to change the tire, okay? That means that 7 hours minus 45 minutes leaves me with 6 hours and 15 minutes, hey? 6 hours and 15 minutes. So that's not the problem here. That's not the problem. That's the easy bits. The problem comes when we go and we try to put this on our calculator, because just like a lot of you said, when we go and we calculate the speed is equal to the distance divided by time. Beautiful that so many of you are reminding that up to each other. Well done, guys. Speed is equal to distance divided by time. So the distance was 625. And when I put this in on my calculator, I'm going to say 6, comma, and where a lot of you go and get confused is you go and you say 6,15, because it's 6 hours and 15 minutes. But we must remember that this is time. And how many minutes are in an hour? There's 60. But how many decimals are there in a unit? There's 100. So we've got to be really careful here when we make this into a decimal. And when we make this into a decimal, we must remember that this 15 minutes counts for a quarter of an hour. Am I right? It counts for a quarter of an hour. So when we're showing it as a decimal, what do we need to show it as? We actually need to show it as comma 2, 5. I really hope that that helps you guys, because that's how I always remember it. I always remember it as 15 minutes is actually a quarter of an hour. So when I put it in my calculator, I must always remember to put it in as a quarter. And what is a quarter? A quarter is comma 2, 5. So I can't put it into my calculator as comma 1, 5, because comma 1, 5 is actually 15 over 100, not 15 over 60, which is completely different. So remember that when you're putting in 15 minutes on your calculator, it's a quarter of an hour, and a quarter in decimals is comma 2, 5. So on my calculator, 625 divided by 6,25 leaves me with 100 kilometers per hour. So I also got 100 kilometers per hour. Lots of people got 100 kilometers per hour. You are 100% right. That is 100% right. Okay, it is correct. I'm just reminding you that when you put it on your calculator, it needs to be 6,25, not 6,15. All right, so 100 kilometers per hour. All right, so Yolanda, if you can put the poll up for us so long, if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer any questions. The poll is going to come up for you guys. Please make sure that you answer the poll. Remember, on Wednesday, we are going to be continuing with our whole numbers lesson. Okay, so we're going to be continuing on Wednesday with our whole numbers lesson. So we're going to be going over whole numbers again. All right, so if there's any other questions from tonight, we can also answer them on Wednesday night. Please come back on Wednesday. Remember, we are going over our basics. This is Beat the Basics. It's going to be coming up again and again and again, guys. So please make sure you come back for our lessons. All right, otherwise, if you have no questions, thank you so much for joining us this evening. If you were new, I really hope you enjoy your lesson and you come back on Wednesday. Thank you so much, guys, and good night. Remember to answer the poll before you log out. Bye, guys.
Yes, please, guys. Let's answer the poll. And thank you, Teacher Kirsty. Guys, let's say thank you to Teacher Kirsty. You guys have learned a lot today. Hey.
Thanks, guys.
Remember, we are not allowed to share personal information, guys. No, Cheva, we are not allowed to do your own group. We are not allowed to do that. Okay.
Okay,
So we are not doing that.
I see Jadley's got a question here. Right. Jadley,
Okay.
what is your question?
Ma'am, I think I overcomplicated everything. I'm
what
lost.
Did you do? What did you do?
Basically, ma'am, you said half of 30 is 15, which is our 15 minutes.
Yeah.
I practically said 120.
Yeah.
1,200 over 30 divided.
What did you do?
By the half of 30.
Oh my gosh. Does it make sense why you shouldn't do that?
Now I don't know, ma'am. I don't know.
Okay, so let's follow through. All right. So that distance of 1,200, that distance is gone already. Why? Because we already traveled most of it. Did you see?
Yeah.
So that distance, it was like we had already driven nearly half of it. We'd driven 575 Ks. So we need to subtract that. That distance is gone already. Okay. So 1,200 minus 575. So that distance, finished. That we need to even get rid of that 1,200. It's finished. Does that make sense?
Kinda.
Kinda? What do you mean kinda? Imagine you're driving. Okay. Imagine you're in the car and you're driving. All right. Now you've driven nearly half your trip already. Now you're going to go back and start from the beginning. Jadley.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Imagine you're in the car. Would you start from the beginning when you're calculating?
No.
No, definitely not. Okay, so you must always remember, especially for these questions, because like I said to you, all these kind of questions that are in words like this is maths lit. You know what I'm saying? It's all these
Yeah,
words, am I right? It's lots and lots of words, hey?
yeah.
Okay, so when you get a question that's lots of words like this, you must think to yourself, if I was in the car, okay, and I've been driving, I've driven nearly half the way already, what would I do? Okay, would I start with 1,200? Definitely not, eh? Oh, I lost you, Jaylee. You still there?
Yeah, ma'am.
Okay, would you start with 1,200? Probably not, eh?
Yeah.
You're going to start with the distance where you already at. Am I right? You're going to say 1,200 minus what I've already traveled. And then you're going to go from there.
Oh,
Did you
now
take a
I
screenshot?
understand.
Does it make sense what I'm saying?
Yeah, it now
Okay,
makes
good.
sense, ma'am.
Okay, good. I'm glad. Good. Take a screenshot of the answer as well, okay? Thanks, Jaylee. All right, I'm going to answer one more question and then I'm going to say goodnight for the night. So I've got a thing that says this PC. I'm not sure what your name is, but there we go. This PC.
Ma'am, may you please
Yes.
explain the part on how you got the part of the S equals to D over T?
So speed, so when we do speed and distance and time, we always look at it like it's a triangle. Like this. Have you seen this triangle before?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so distance is always on the top and speed and time, hey?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
if I'm looking for speed, it's going to be equal to the distance divided by the time, hey? And so my distance was 625. Where did I get that from? I got it from my calculation over here. My time, remember I spent this time going through and I said to you guys, to get the time, all right, it was 6 hours and 15 minutes. But I said to you guys, when you put that in your calculator, you can't say 6,15 because it's 15 minutes is the same thing as saying a quarter of an hour. So when we say a quarter in a decimal, it's going to be 6,25. Does that make sense?
Yes, please.
Okay, so when we say over like this, when we've got an over is the same thing as saying
Divide.
Okay, so that's where we got 6,25 divided by 6,25, which gives you 100 kilometers per hour.
Okay.
Does it make
Because
sense?
ma'am, here on
Yep.
my calculator, when I say because 6,25 divided by 625 divided by 6,25
Yeah, you get 100.
oh, okay. Yes. Sorry.
Did you make a mistake on the calculator?
Yes, no, I think I made a
Yeah.
mistake.
That's okay. Don't stress. Thank you so much for your question. I will see you on Wednesday.